Peace, peace, family. How you doing today? Today I have a story that I would like to tell. It's from the Bible. It's talking about Jesus Christ, and but I have a disclaimer, right? The disclaimer is I don't want anyone to feel offended, any religious organizations or anything. This is just me stretching my imagination on how, if Jesus was born in modern times, what would it be like? Some of the things that he went through back in the Bible days, how, it would play out in modern, era and stuff like that. It's just a little thing. It's just a little story, a treat for you guys, for waiting so long. I haven't been doing a video, ever so often, but when I do get a chance, I'll definitely do the video and stuff like that. So this is me right here. I'm going to attempt off the top of my head to remember and recall some of the events from the Bible with Jesus, and also, oh, my eyes are red. That water, I just washed my face. But anyway, some of the events from the Bible and how it would play out now. And don't be offended, anyone who, this is not a mockery of the Bible or Jesus Christ or anything. It's just a story. It's just a story, and to express my creativity and thinking that what would Jesus do? Anyone ever thought about that? What would Jesus do in modern times? Right? And so here, give me a second, let me put this phone down, and then I'll definitely start the story. And tell me how it is. If you like the video, like, share, subscribe. And if you have any other stories that you could put in your own words or your own imagination of what would Jesus do in modern times, I would like to see other people do it too. Like, that would be fun. So again, give me a second. All right. So here's the thing. Jesus Christ, right? The best place to start is from the beginning, the birth of Jesus. So in the Bible, it says that Jesus was born in a manger, which is like a hut for animals and stuff like that. So he didn't have anywhere to go. And so I'll be going back and forth from the Bible story and to modern story and how Jesus Christ, let's call Jesus in modern time JC, right? JC. So when I say JC, it's Jesus. All right. So let's get started with the story and let me know how you feel about it. All right. Now, Jesus Christ was born in a manger from the Virgin Mother Mary. And I think she was a virgin when she gave birth to Jesus. In terms of when she conceived, prior to that, she was probably, a virgin. And, so she never had any other children. She probably never had sex before or whatever. And with a guy called Joseph. Let's call Joseph Joe in modern times. So Joe and Mary and JC. Now, once upon a time, well, in modern times now, JC's mother, Mary, was pregnant, and she went to multiple hospitals to give birth. And however, maybe it's lack of insurance, or they just didn't have the money or whatever, or the hospitals weren't accommodating and stuff like that. So what they did was they turned them down. So Joe and Mary went back to the hood, which they from the hood. So they went back to the hood. And when they went back to the hood, they found an abandoned building. She couldn't even make it all the way home. The baby had to come now. So they went to an abandoned building, a little hut building, like, in the hood. And she gave birth there, to JC. And when she gave birth to JC, there were three men that came by as witness to see, oh wow, this is crazy. And they felt sorry for, the family and stuff like that. So they brought gifts and they gave them gifts, diapers, maybe a little food, stuff like that, something valuable that they could use, right? So that's how JC was born. And that's one story. That's the birth of JC in the hood. Now, what other story? There's another. So I'll be switching from different stories. I won't go through the whole thing because I'm not trying to make this video very long, right? So I'm going to try and keep the video short and spicy. Now, I know it's keep running. Anyway, so skip back a few years. JC went out, JC at young teenage years, he was never home. I was left home. I was go out in the hood, in the streets, doing his thing, talking to people, sharing his little knowledge that he has and he's learning as well and stuff like that. And so JC was becoming a little bit known in the hood as a young genius, someone who's smart. People start looking up to JC, even though he was young and stuff like that. He had good stuff to say, encouragement to other people, the poor, people that are on drugs, different things. And, skip back a few more years, JC's older now. And there's this one story where JC, he didn't have any money. And JC was hungry. For like 40 days, JC was like just wandering around the hood trying to, see how he could get some money and stuff like that. And he wasn't really paying attention to the money. He was paying attention on how he could make the hood better. So he wasn't really paying attention and, okay, I'm hungry, I need to make money and I'll do anything for it. And so he proved that theory. While JC was out, he was on the corner just chilling, just observing folks, just doing his thing. And guess who pulled up? DeVille. Yeah, DeVille pulled up. And now, DeVille is another character in modern times that I imagine, if you ever seen the movie Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy, and he was a vampire, just imagine DeVille looking like that. Shout out to Eddie Murphy, by the way. Great actor, great comedian. But imagine DeVille looking like Eddie Murphy in Vampire in Brooklyn. Google search the picture, you will see a picture of him. So that's how DeVille looks. So people wonder, you'd wonder why they call him DeVille. Well, the reason why they call him DeVille is because DeVille, no one knows his real name. He pulls up, and when he pulls up in a Cadillac. And he pulls up in a Cadillac DeVille. So people just say, oh, okay, let's just call him DeVille. So everybody just called. He was known as a pimp. He's a pimp. And he was known as DeVille. So one day JC was just chilling in the hood, looking around, observing, trying to learn, how he could make the hood better and stuff like that. DeVille pulled up in his Cadillac. DeVille was like, hey, JC, I've been watching you for a minute. I notice you're a little bit low on money. Now I can offer you some money now. Would you take the money? And JC was like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't want the money. DeVille was like, you sure, man? DeVille was like, hey, I got something for you. And JC was like, what you got? And DeVille was like, hey, I got some rocks. Now make some bread with these rocks. I'll give you these rocks. You sell it throughout the hood and make some bread. Now, in the Bible days, the devil actually approached Jesus with a rock and said, turn the rock to bread, which is food. In modern times, we all know what rocks is in the hood, right? We know what rocks are. People use rocks and get addicted to it. That's the rocks that DeVille had. And when he said, turn it to bread, in the hood, they say, when they talk about bread, they talk about money. I got my bread in my pockets, stuff like that. So DeVille pulled up in his Cadillac and said, hey, JC, I got some rocks for you. Why don't you, do your thing and make some bread with it? I know you're hungry. And JC got a little bit offended, and JC was like, look, listen, man, I don't want to have nothing to do with you, bro. You know what I mean? I know what you do in the hood and how you move, and I don't want to have no parts of it. So just leave me alone. DeVille got mad. DeVille got mad. DeVille hopped in his caddy, and before pulling off, he was like, JC, I'm gonna get you one day. I'm gonna get you. And while he driving off, he's screaming, I'm gonna get you, JC. So DeVille was mad. DeVille pulled off. You know, a lot of people fear DeVille in the hood too. Yeah, a lot of people fear him. So, you know, he was nobody to play with. Nobody to play with by a long shot. You know, skip back some time passed and JC was still out there. You know, he went on the corner again, and there was this child that came to JC. And the child came and said, hey, my family's hungry. And you could look around, the whole neighborhood is hungry. And JC was thinking, JC was like, yeah, that's true. You know, everybody's hungry. Everybody, you know, they need food. People look sad, stuff like that. And, you know, JC had gathered a little bit of following because, you know, he always have some good things to say, and, you know, he treat people nice. So people was like lingering around somehow around JC and stuff like that. So the child came, the child said, JC, what can you do with this? And the child, you know what the child gave JC? $2.50. $2.50. Now in the Bible days, Jesus, the real Jesus, got 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. But in the modern time, JC got $2.50. And JC was like thinking. JC is like, all right, let me see, you know. And JC put up a prayer to the Most High, and JC said, you know, all I have is $2.50. JC walked into the corner store, and when JC walked out with bags and bags of food. Yeah. And everybody in the hood was starting to get around and was amazed, like, JC, what did you do? Now, me personally, let's say me, right? No, I'm just a spectator. I've been observing JC. You know, while my time in the hood, I noticed this character, and he seemed to be a really nice person, and he does amazing things. So I'm just a spectator, right? So just imagine me just, you know, just watching and observing JC as he moves and does things. So JC came out with bags and bags of food and started sharing it up with the hood, and everyone ate, and they had a whole party in the parking lot and everything. And there was food left over, and there was money left over. And the child was amazed too. Everybody was amazed. I was amazed. I went up to JC and I said, JC, how did you do it? JC was like, you would like to know? And I said, yeah, let me know. How did you do that, JC? With $2.50. JC said, I walked into the corner store, and I sent up a prayer. I prayed. I said to the Most High God, I said, can you please bless me? Help me out with this situation. And then I bought a scratch off and I won. But anyway, so JC was able to feed the hood. Now, skip back to another time. Which other time? Yeah, JC. There was a friend that JC had a long time on the other side of the hood, the west side. JC was on the east side. And, you know, he got word that his friend had died, man. He's in the hospital. Not really died, but he was in a coma. He's been in a coma for a while now. And, you know, they've been waiting on JC to come and at least say some few words, stuff to that. And, you know, it's JC's good friend. He went to school together, you know, public school, whatever. And JC was like, all right, cool. JC took his time, though, got there. When he got there, you know, some people was a little upset, you know, it took too long. He's in a coma. He's literally dead, you know. And JC was like, all right, cool. Let me see what I can do. And JC, while everyone is outside the hospital door, he closed the room door, hospital room, and said, no one else come in. Let me go in by myself. Let me, you know, see what I can do. and everyone was peeping through the hospital room window. There's a glass window. Everyone was gathered up in the hospital, like peeping, like, what is JC doing? And JC went over to Els, Lazarus, Els, right? They call him Els in the hood. So JC went over to Els, and JC, they saw JC just stooped, like went over and whispered something into Els' ear. Lo and behold, Els jumped up out of the bed, like Els dashed on his 2 feet like this. And then he pulled everything off from the hospital. And then Els like this and went through the door. And then he saw his family and friends. He hugged them for a little while. Everyone was happy. And Els was like, yo, I gotta go. And Els hit the back door and ran off. Everyone was like wondering, like, they were all happy that Els got back out of the coma. But they was wondering, what happened? What really happened to Els? What did JC say to him that got him like that? Brought him back to life. Literally brought Els back to life. Everyone was amazed. And so I went to JC and I was like, JC, what did you do now? Like, this is amazing. And JC was like, you know, I just went over to him and whispered in his ear while he was in a coma. And I said, you remember DeVille, right? You know you owe him money. Well, he's sitting outside in his Cadillac, the hospital. And as soon as JC said that, that's when Els snapped out of the coma. He hauled ass. He like, whoop, through the back door. He did not want to meet DeVille. So that's how Els was brought back to life. And after that, JC was gaining a lot of recognition in the hood, you know, for doing things that is not normal. It's not normal. People never seen stuff like this in the hood before. So people was following JC around and stuff like that. There was another incident when JC, he was perturbed. He got news that there was a casino. There was casinos that's taking over the hood. Now, people really don't have money, but people have been losing a lot of money at the casinos. And JC got mad, and JC was like, I know that, you know, they just bringing the hood down. So JC went into the casino, start flipping over tables and money everywhere. And JC was like, I want you all out of the hood. Want you out of the hood. You know, you guys are no good for the hood. And, you know, the casino owners, they were mad. Ooh, they were mad. Don't you come up in here flipping over tables, man. That's our money. That's our bread. You know, you can't be doing that. But they didn't know who JC was. So they went back to the hood a few days later. And when they went back to the hood, they like start asking around. Now, JC had 12 homies that he hung out with. Only 12. Those 12 homies follow him everywhere. But one of the homies was a snitch. Yeah, so they paid. So they went to that homie and they said to that homie, the casino owners, like, look, we need to get JC. We need to find where he is, lock him up. We need to know exactly who he is, right? And so the homie was like, well, I need 30 pieces of gold chain. I need 10 pieces of gold chain, 10 pieces of gold rings, and 10 pieces of gold watches. So that's 30 pieces of gold. And they was like, well, all right, you know, it's a little steep, but we'll give it to you. But you have to let us know. So how will we know that we got JC, the right JC in the hood? Because they all look alike. That's what the casino owners say. They all look alike. And they said, don't worry, I got you. Just look at the handshake. There's a special handshake between me and JC. And that's the only handshake you see me do with someone. And once you see that, then you know that's him. So the snitch, one of JC homies, caught JC on the corner and like, hey, what's up, my man? They do the handshake and all that stuff. And the owners was sitting in the car down the street and they said, oh, that's him. That's JC. They called the authorities. Yeah, they came. The cops came for him. Cops came and locked up JC, put handcuffs on JC, brought him to court. A few days later, JC was in court. Now JC went to the court, and they was negotiating what they should do with him. You know what they should do with JC. They say lock him up, lock him up. And the Judge Pilate was like, I don't know, man. I don't, all he did was just turn over some tables. I don't know. This seemed like a federal case or Supreme Court. So let's, take him to Supreme Court. You guys handle him from there, So he called up the judge at the Supreme Court, Pilate, and he called the judge Herod and said, hey, Herod, I'm sending over a guy to your court. People want him gone. So you do your thing, decide what you want to do, And Judge Herod said, okay, send him over. So JC went to Supreme Court. When JC went to Supreme Court, Herod was a firm guy. He was firm and stern, serious judge. And the jury and everybody was like biased because, the jury was making money and stuff like that from the casinos too. Or they were paid, who knows? And Judge Herod was like, so what should we do with JC? Cut a long story short, they decided to let go prisoners or a prisoner from the jail, from the county, and have JC replace them. And Herod was like, okay, done. Slam the hammer down, or the gavel. It's called the gavel, or the hammer. I call it the hammer. Slam the hammer down. Brought the hammer. And Judge Herod was like, well, so it be. And so they put JC in jail for 3 years. And they let go one of the prisoners in his replacement. And so JC was in prison for 3 years. And after JC got out, JC decided that, well, you know what? I've spent enough time in the hood. I'm going up in the hills. I'm going up, and I'm going to live in a different area. And so JC, eventually, after speaking to his homies, let them know that, look, I'm going to be out of here. My time has come. I already spent 3 years in the pen, and I'm good. But don't give up hope. Stay in the hood, do your thing, bring positivity. And JC always spread positivity. And so JC left the hood. They never see JC again. But before JC left, one of his homies said, hey, will we ever see you again? And JC was like, yes, there'll be a second coming. I'll be back. But for now, I got to prepare some things. And you'll see me again. So don't get disheartened. Everything will be all right. And so that's how, JC left the hood. But before JC left the hood, one of his homies, when they brought him into questioning, before they brought him to court, one of JC homies, they asked him, they brought him into interrogation 3 times and asked him, and the homie's like, I don't know that man. So 3 times he was denied and stuff like that. And then the clock in the city hall went off. And he remembered that JC told him that he would have done this. JC knew his homies pretty well. Believe it or not, he knew exactly each one of his homies and what they're capable of. And so, that homie, he was sad about that. The other homie that betrayed, that snitched on JC, he told that homie too. He told him what he was going to do. And that homie was so perturbed by what he done because he saw JC as a real good man and good friend from the hood. So he ended up taking his own life, And so that's how that guy went. The one that got the 30 pieces of chain and gold and ring. Yeah, that's how he went. And so that's the story of modern day Jesus. And let me, I could do a lot more because there's a lot of stories in the Bible that talk about miracles and stuff that Jesus performed, turn water to wine, things like that. But I'm cutting it short for this video. All right, there might be a part 2. Let's see. I might add the other stories in part 2 and see how I could use my imagination to modernize it. But again, disclaimer, this is not to offend anyone in religious backgrounds or anything like that, or the Bible or nothing. This is just me expanding my creativity and my imagination. So hopefully you like the story, and I think it's just a treat. So here's a treat, and I'll see you on the next one. And remember, like, share, subscribe. Okay? Thank you, guys. Peace. Show love, show positivity. Be of good spirit. Whatever a man soweth, so shall he reap. So guess what? Sow good stuff. Okay? Wake up with gratitude and thanks in your heart for the Most High, for yourself and for others, and show love and be nice to someone today. Okay? All right. Peace. I'm out.